There comes a time in every person's life when they must look into the mirror and ask, "Is this the best I can do?" If you have ever whispered that question to yourself, even once, it is evidence that something greater lies within you, something yearning to be awakened, called forth, demanded into action. You do not get what you want in life merely by wishing. You get what you demand from yourself. The first law of achievement is this: you will never rise above the standards you tolerate. Let that sink in. Every result in your life right now, your income, your relationships, your health, your joy, is a direct reflection of what you have accepted as good enough. But good enough is the enemy of greatness. Comfort is the graveyard of ambition. If you desire more, if you dream bigger, then you must become more. That is not philosophy. It is fact. Raising your standards is not about setting goals. A goal is a target. A standard is a rule, and rules govern your behavior. A goal says, "I'd like to be wealthy someday." A standard says, "I will never again accept poverty or mediocrity, starting now." One is a wish, the other is a decision. Until you make that decision with every fiber of your being, you will drift in the tides of chance. But when your standard becomes a burning necessity, life begins to bend to your will. Look around you. Every breakthrough began with a person who decided that the old way was no longer acceptable. They didn't wait for the world to change. They changed themselves. They didn't ask permission. They claimed it. They didn't hope for better. They became better, and that is what you must do. You must raise your standard to the level of your vision. Stop asking if your dream is realistic. Ask if your current self is worthy of it, and if not, become the person who is. Your mind is the master key to your destiny. The moment you declare, "I will no longer live below this level," a spark is lit. But that spark must be fanned into a fire, and that fire must become your obsession. You must discipline your thoughts like a commander disciplines soldiers. No laziness, no doubt, no fear. If your standard is excellence, then every thought must align with excellence. No exceptions. Understand this. Life will test your new standards. The moment you raise them, challenges will arise. People around you may mock you. Circumstances may defy you, and your own habits may resist you. But this is not punishment, it is proof. The universe does not give gold to those who are interested in wealth. It gives gold to those who will not live without it. The trial is the toll you must pay to reach the treasure. And remember, raising your standard is not a single act. It is a way of life. Every day you must reaffirm it in your actions. You must wake up with determination and go to bed with discipline. You must speak as though your words are bricks building your future. You must act as though every step is sacred, because it is. Your future self is watching you. Your future self is waiting. The version of you that owns the dream is already alive in potential. Now you must grow into it. Stop negotiating with weakness. Stop compromising with doubt. You were not born to merely survive. You were born to shape, to influence, to conquer. But that power only answers to those who raise their standards and never look back. It is not reserved for the chosen. It is claimed by the relentless. Success, freedom, greatness, these are not gifts. They are outcomes, and they are reserved for those who say, "I will never again accept less than I am capable of." If you want to transform your life, don't just set new goals. Set new minimums, raise the floor, not just the ceiling. Refuse to operate below your peak. Build habits that reflect where you're going, not where you've been. Associate only with people who challenge your standards, not those who excuse your failures. Train your mind like an athlete trains the body. Feed it, stretch it, test it, because your results will never exceed your mindset. When your standards become non-negotiable, your future becomes unstoppable. That is the truth no one teaches you in school. That is the secret every champion learns. The moment you draw the line and say, "This is who I am now," the world takes notice, and more importantly, the world responds. You do not get what you deserve in life. You get what you demand from yourself first, and then from the world. So raise your standards, not tomorrow, not next year, now. The mistake most people make is believing that success is about circumstances. They wait for the right time, the right people, the right opportunity, as if the world is supposed to knock on their door and say, "You're ready now." But that knock never comes, because readiness is not a condition, it's a commitment. You decide you're ready the moment you stop waiting and start moving. The man or woman who raises their standards does not wait for external permission. They become the permission. Look closely at your life. Every place where you feel stuck, disappointed, or defeated is the result of a standard you've let slip. Maybe it was a moment of exhaustion, maybe it was fear, but somewhere along the way you told yourself, this is fine, and that quiet compromise became a pattern. That pattern became your behavior, and that behavior became your reality. But here's the good news. If you built it, you can rebuild it. If you accepted it, you can reject it. And if you tolerated it, you can now rise above it. But it won't happen with casual effort. Raising your standards requires fierce honesty. You must look at the areas of your life where you've allowed excuses to take the place of effort, where you've settled for average when excellence was available, where you've said maybe later instead of right now. You can't change what you don't confront, and you can't confront what you won't admit. So call it out, name the weakness, identify the pattern, and then break it. You must develop intolerance for anything beneath the level of your potential. That's right. Intolerance, not anger, not frustration, intolerance. Because when you become truly intolerant of your own laziness, your own excuses, your own self-sabotage, you become powerful. You begin to reject the behaviors that once seemed harmless. You begin to remove the people who drag you back to old standards, and you begin to install new, empowering beliefs that carry you toward your vision. Discipline is not punishment, it's proof that you are serious, proof that you are done playing small, proof that you respect your vision enough to work for it. When you raise your standards, you stop treating your future like a lottery ticket and start treating it like a contract. One that is signed with your actions, sealed with your persistence, and delivered by your results. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Standards are stable. There will be days when you don't feel like showing up. But if your standard is consistency, you show up anyway. There will be days when you feel defeated. But if your standard is resilience, you rise again. There will be moments when the old version of you whispers, it's okay to take it easy. That's when you remind yourself, I don't live by feelings, I live by standards. Raise your standard for what you read, raise it for how you speak, raise it for how you treat others and how you allow others to treat you. Raise it for how you handle your time, your energy, your focus. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And when you raise your standard in one area, you send a message to your entire life. We're not going back. This is the new level. This is the new expectation. And nothing less will be accepted. The tragedy of most people is not that they aim too high and miss, but that they aim too low and hit. They ask for crumbs when the feast is available. They accept survival when abundance is possible. But that's not you not anymore. You've seen the truth now. You've heard the call. And from this point forward, the standard is greatness, not perfection. Greatness, which means progress, hunger, responsibility, ownership. Raising your standards doesn't mean you never fall, it means you rise faster. It means your setbacks don't define you. It means your identity is rooted in growth, not in comfort. And when your identity changes, your behavior follows. You no longer identify as someone who tries, you identify as someone who does. You no longer call yourself a dreamer. You call yourself a builder, a producer, a person of purpose, and that identity becomes your armor against every excuse, every distraction, every doubt that once held you down. Your words become law, your time becomes sacred, your focus becomes weaponized, and your vision becomes magnetic, pulling resources, people, and opportunities toward you because the world respects someone who respects themselves. That's what standards do. They create gravity, they create force, they create inevitability. There is no magic formula. No one is coming to save you, but the path is clear. Raise your standards, and everything begins to rise with them. Your income, your influence, your confidence, your peace, even your relationships. Why? Because people treat you according to the standard you set for yourself, Raise it and they rise, lower it and they leave. The standard is the signal, the standard is the system, the standard is the secret, and now you know it. The moment you raise your standards, you declare war on every part of yourself that has been complicit in your own limitations. And yes, there will be a battle. Do not mistake the resistance you feel as a sign you're on the wrong path. It is confirmation that you are finally confronting what has held you back. Comfort will cry out. Old habits will claw at your ankles, but do not answer them. Let them die. They had their time. This is the era of your rise. There is a difference between being interested in change and being committed to change. When you're interested, you do what's convenient. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. You show up tired. You show up when it's raining. You show up when nobody's clapping. That's what high standards look like. They are not for show. They are for you, for the world you are building, and for the person you are becoming. The inner shift happens first, always. The person who raises their standards internally begins to see themselves differently. You begin to speak differently, walk differently, carry yourself with a calm certainty, not arrogance, clarity. You're no longer trying to prove anything to anyone. You're simply living in alignment with the truth that's been burning in you since the beginning, that you were not made for average, that your name was not meant to fade, that your life was not meant to echo someone else's dreams. You were built for significance, and understand this truth. Raising your standards is not about getting more, it's about becoming more. You may start this journey wanting more wealth, more respect, more freedom. That's natural, but what you discover is that the real treasure is who you become in the process. The discipline, the clarity, the strength of character, that is the true reward. Because once you've become that person, you can lose everything and rebuild. You can be dropped in the desert and still create a kingdom, because greatness is no longer something you chase, it's who you are. So guard your standards like a fortress. Every day, temptations will try to infiltrate. Distractions will knock at the gate. Old patterns will dress themselves in new disguises and try to slip through. You must be vigilant. Do not give an inch, because the moment you lower your standard even slightly, you send a signal to your subconscious that the new level isn't serious, and once that crack appears, it grows. Hold the line even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Many people wonder why their life never changes, even though they try hard. The answer is simple. They've been trying within the limits of the same old standard. They've changed their schedule, but not their standards. They've changed their plans, but not their principles. That's why the transformation never sticks. Real change starts from the inside out. A raised standard is the foundation on which all success is built. Without it, every achievement is temporary. With it, every step forward becomes permanent. There is no mystery to mastery. It is the result of refusing to accept anything less. The artist who masters his craft did not do so because he was gifted, but because he refused to accept mediocrity from himself. The athlete who dominates the field didn't rely on talent alone. He demanded excellence in practice, in recovery, in thought. And the entrepreneur who builds an empire does so not because of luck, but because of an unbreakable standard of leadership, service, and vision. Raise your standard for how you respond to failure. Do not shrink. Do not hide. Stand taller. Speak louder. Take the lesson and move. Raise your standard for your environment. Eliminate noise. Remove clutter. Create a space that reflects the level you aspire to. Raise your standard for who you listen to. Stop taking advice from those who have never built what you want to build. Find those who live at the level you seek, and study them with precision, not to imitate, but to elevate. There is no shortcut. There is no hack, but there is a path, and it is walked by those who say, I am done making excuses. I am done explaining my delays. I am done apologizing for wanting more. There is nothing wrong with wanting more. More impact, more growth, more life. It is not greed. It is purpose in motion. Desire becomes divine when it is attached to responsibility, and when your standard includes service to others, to your family, to your destiny. Then success is not just possible, it is required. Raise your standard for effort. Push when no one's watching. Practice when you're already good. Prepare like everything depends on it, because it does. Life does not hand greatness to those who dabble. It hands it to those who decide today, decide now, because every second you delay, you reinforce the old standard, and that old standard, if left unchecked, becomes a prison dressed as a comfort zone. But now the door is open. You've seen the blueprint. You've felt the fire, so step through. Don't just talk about it. Live it. Not tomorrow, not next month, but now, right now. You are already at a crossroads, whether you realize it or not. At this moment, you stand at the threshold of your own transformation. The world will continue to test your resolve, to challenge your new standard. But here's the key. Every test, every challenge, is simply an opportunity to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. It is not the challenge itself that defines you. It is how you respond to it. Will you bend to old habits, or will you rise, stronger than ever before, affirming that the standards you have set are unbreakable? The reality is that nothing in life stays the same. You either grow or you shrink. You either climb or you fall. When you decide to raise your standards, you make a commitment to growth, to evolution, to becoming more. This is not a passive process. It requires deliberate, intentional action, and that action is fueled by your new identity, one that refuses to accept mediocrity, one that demands greatness in everything you do. So let me remind you that the obstacles you face today are not signs of failure. They are signs of progress. They are proof that you are walking the path of the exceptional. Those obstacles are your teachers, and your response to them will determine whether you move forward or retreat. When you face a setback, it is not a sign that you are weak or that your standard is too high. It is merely the universe's way of ensuring that you have the strength, resilience, and tenacity to sustain the new heights you are reaching for. The more you raise your standards, the more you will realize that the things that once felt like setbacks are, in fact, stepping stones. They are opportunities to build the muscle of persistence, to strengthen your character, and to sharpen your focus. The journey to raising your standards is not always smooth, but it is always worth it. You will develop a sense of self, discipline that carries you through the difficult times, a mindset that thrives on challenges, and a determination that will not be swayed. And don't be fooled into thinking that only grand gestures matter. It is the small, everyday decisions that reveal your true standard. It is in the way you wake up in the morning. It is in how you choose to spend your time. It is in the way you respond to people, how you handle your commitments, and how you treat yourself when no one is watching. The foundation of greatness is built on these small, seemingly insignificant actions. It is the consistency in these actions that will take you to the level you desire. When you adopt a standard of excellence in your thoughts, your words, and your deeds, the entire universe aligns to support your journey. Opportunities will arise that you never imagined. Doors will open that you didn't know existed, and people will be drawn to you, not just because of your success, but because of your commitment to a higher standard. When you live at a high standard, you begin to attract people who elevate you, and you, in turn, elevate them. You become a magnet for success, prosperity, and fulfillment. Your standards will dictate the energy you put out into the world. When you raise them, you begin to operate with power, confidence, and clarity, and people will respond to that energy. They will begin to see you as someone who is serious, someone who is trustworthy, someone who can be relied upon. You will command respect, not because you demand it, but because your standards make it inevitable. However, there will always be those who try to pull you back. There will be those who mock your ambition, who question your goals, and who try to convince you that your standards are unrealistic. These people are not your concern. The only opinion that matters is your own. You are not here to please others. You are here to fulfill your purpose, to rise to the potential that lies within you. And those who have the courage to follow their own path will eventually find their way into the circle of those who are destined for greatness. Raising your standards requires courage. It requires the courage to look at yourself honestly, to recognize where you have settled for less than you are capable of, and to make the choice to rise above it. It requires the courage to make the hard decisions, to say no to distractions, to eliminate the people and habits that no longer serve your highest good. It requires the courage to stand alone, if necessary, until you find the company of those who are as committed to excellence as you are. And as you rise, remember this: your standards are not a destination. They are a journey. They are a living, breathing part of you that must be nurtured and strengthened daily. It is not about perfection. It is about progress. Every day you have the opportunity to raise your standard just a little bit higher, and every time you do, you unlock a new level of possibility. So, as you stand here today, know that the power to transform your life lies within you. It is not a matter of waiting for the right moment. It is a matter of deciding that this is the moment, right here, right now. You have the ability to raise your standards to a level that will bring you everything you desire. And when you do, nothing, no obstacle, no setback, no person, can stop you. You will be unstoppable, and in those moments when you feel like the journey is too difficult, when you question whether it's worth the sacrifice, remember this: you are not just building a life. You are building a legacy. The person you are becoming will outlast any temporary challenge. The results of your effort will echo far beyond what you can see in the present moment. The decisions you make today will set the foundation for generations to come. When you raise your standards, you don't just raise your own life. You raise the lives of everyone you come into contact with. You become a living example of what's possible. You show those around you that they, too, have the power to rise above their circumstances, to transcend their limits, and to build the life they dream of. It's not just about your success, it's about the ripple effect you create when you show others the way. And so, let this be your guiding truth. Your standard is your signature. It is the mark you leave on the world. It is the measure of your life. When you leave this world, what will people remember about you? Will they remember someone who made excuses, or someone who relentlessly pursued excellence? Will they remember someone who accepted mediocrity, or someone who demanded greatness from themselves and others? The power to shape your future is in your hands, and it begins with the standard you set for yourself today. You were not meant to live in the shadows of your potential. You were meant to step into the light of your greatness and claim everything that is yours. So, make the decision now. Refuse to settle, refuse to shrink, refuse to play small. Stand tall, stand firm, and declare that your standard has been raised forever. And when you do, you will find that the universe begins to rise with you. In conclusion, raising your standards is the most powerful decision you can make in your life. It is not a one-time event, but a continuous commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. By setting a higher standard, you are not only changing your circumstances, but you are also redefining your identity. You are stepping into the life you've always wanted, but first, you must demand it from yourself. The road may not always be easy, and the challenges may feel overwhelming at times, but remember that the obstacles are not barriers. They are stepping stones that will take you to new heights. Your standards will shape your destiny. The moment you decide to live by a higher standard, you begin to attract the right opportunities, people, and circumstances. You begin to transform your mindset, your habits, and your future. So, commit today to never again settle for less than your potential. Embrace the discomfort, trust in the process, and believe that greatness is not just possible. It is inevitable. You have the power to shape your future with the choices you make today. Raise your standards and watch your life transform in ways you never thought possible. The world is waiting for you to step up, and when you do, it will respond in kind. This is your moment. Embrace it. Raise your standards and become the person you were always meant to be.